Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to be doing oil change in the differentials, the front and the rear on the Jeep, and we'll just do a quick how-to. It's pretty simple. I know in the front I won't have to take the diff cover off. In the rear, I just want to check it because I use the rear more than the front. So I'm just going to pull it off, run through the gears, and take a look, make sure everything's fine. If I drain the front and there's a little bit of flakiness or any metal bits, definitely pull in the front. Otherwise, I'm just gonna go right for it. So for the oil, I just went with a simple gear oil, 85 over 140. This is a Rubicon, so I do have lockers. I don't need any friction additives, no LSD, none of that stuff. But if you're doing it to a regular Jeep, I would just check on the weight, and you will need LSD or a friction additive if you have LSD in the Jeep. Otherwise, the front needs, to keep it simple, 1.4 quarts. The rear needs 2.4 quarts. And the best way to do it is, what I like to do, obviously start with the fill plug, open that up, and just verify that it opens. So that way you don't drain and then all of a sudden you're screwed going, crap, how do I drain? How do I, get fluid back in there? So what I do is, this is an aftermarket cover, so I have a high pinion and a regular fill hole. I'm just going to use the regular one. What I do is I open this guy up, drain the bottom, start filling back through here, and as soon as it starts coming up to the top and starts to come out, that's usually about my 1.4 mark, and I'm done. There's no need to overfill it. In fact, you don't want to overfill it. And some people have fancy like electric or pneumatic pumps to get the fluid in. Some people just cut this guy off, the little nozzle, and then get under there and use funnels. I'm going to give this guy a shot. It's a trans fluid gear oil spout. So we'll see. It looks promising. The tip right there is just long enough to be able to feed into our hole and come around this end where I can easily be able to pour it without having any obstructions. And again, if there are obstructions, I have other things I can use. I just don't like the pump. The pumps take forever. I end up spilling oil all the time. So we'll try something new. And this was fairly inexpensive. It was like $4. So let's go. So to loosen the front diff drain plug, all you need is a 3/8 ratchet. I have a little extension on it just because I like to use it later when I break the seal, loosen it. Use this guy as an extension, drain it, so that way when I unscrew it doesn't go all over my fingers. User preference, doesn't matter. And then an Allen wrench, also known as hex key, for your fill plug right here, and that is your drain. Don't mind the sensor here. That's for my diff, which the locker I overrode, and maybe we can get into that some other day. But yeah, I have manual switches for that now. So here we go. That honestly doesn't look too bad. So we'll set it down here and we'll give it a quick little inspection. I like to kind of feel through it and see if there's anything on there or not. This would be the part. There's just, yeah, it's not bad. Nothing in it. Doesn't look flaky. There's no chunks. This is all the stuff that sat. And keep in mind that this, when I do use the lockers, it's heavy use. It's strictly for off-road use. So, I mean, there's a little bit of flaking right there, a little bit of like small things, but nothing that I'm concerned with. Yeah, this is okay. I'm satisfied with this, with, changing out the oil once a year on this thing and just doing heavy stuff. I'm fine. Yeah, it's not making any weird noises, nothing. It's just, I thought it was time for it, so I will proceed. I will not take off the diff cover. But if you were to decide to do the diff cover, it's just on any of them, you know, you kind of fall in line, take off all your diff bolts that go around, and pop it off. I do have a lube locker seal, which is nice because with the lube locker seal, I can reuse it. If you don't have that, I recommend getting a lube locker or something that you can reuse a couple times, just because you don't want the factory one. It's a one and done. Side note, guys, totally spaced on bringing this up. For those of you who saw this and were like, that's too much sludge, something's wrong. I forgot to mention that last year, or maybe a little over a year ago now, I had the diff lock up and blow out on me. So the whole front end had to get pulled and rebuilt. So there's every oil change that I did, a little more and more would pop out. So this is also probably going to be a little bit of it. Not saying 100% is of it, but it is wear and tear. Not too concerned with it. So this will be the setup. I'm gonna pour my fluid, my gear oil through there, right from up top here, plenty of clearance. And here we go. And just to address something, it's Castrol. It's nothing special. It's plain. Look, this thing isn't a trophy truck or, you know, a SEMA build. Not even SEMA, but anything crazy that does Ultra 400s or this, where the gear oil's heating up to crazy amounts. This is strictly just to have fun on. I don't care if I'm not using the most expensive thing out there or most name brand. This will get the trick done. I think if you change your oil timely versus quality of oil, it will do better. If you change it out more often, you'll be fine. If you put in a super high quality and don't change it out as often, that's where you'll run into some issues. So this seems to work pretty well. Screwed it on. I did remove that little plastic piece. It's nice because you can cap it at the end, but this just fits in so much better, and then you just push with your fingers and go. I might puncture like a little air hole up top right here, just so I could push more volume through versus letting it come back up to get some air, and doing that just takes a little longer. So a couple things that I learned. Definitely attach the bottle to this, way easier. Remove that guy. It's just so much nicer. I always recommend getting some brake cleaner. Once everything's nice and tight, just spray it, clean it up, just so you could later see if there's anything fresh dripping or anything loose. I like having clean things and not having oil dripping all over, so simple, cheap investment. Get some brake cleaner, clean up your stuff. So here's the rear, and like I mentioned earlier, I'm debating of pulling the whole diff cover off once I drain it and take a look at it and analyze it. So I figured if I'm gonna do that, I might as well jack up the rear tires on these blocks. Just, honestly, it doesn't take more than a couple millimeters off the ground so I can spin them freely. And once they're spinning, I'll be able to rotate through the ring gear, check all the ring, the teeth, the gears, make sure everything's okay. I'll be able to see the locker and everything. So we'll see. If I don't need to pull it, I won't pull it. If I do, I'll be ready to go. And guys, the rear is the same thing as well. Same drain plug setup, and then same fill hole. Mine again is the lower end, drain down here. So same as the front, except for the rear takes a little more. It takes 2.4 quarts. So let's get to it. All right, moment of truth. I need to take the diff out, or no? That little goober you see hanging there's my plumber's tape. That came right off of here with some dirt, so we're good there. This is probably even better than the front. So after closely looking at it, obviously I gave this a wipe already and inspected it just like I did with the front. Nothing. Safe to say I can go ahead and put the oil back into it without having having to take any of this apart. I do use liquid Teflon tape up top here, or plumber's tape, whatever you want to call it, the Teflon stuff that I use down below. But because down below I replace it so often, take it on and off, I just like the little wrapping stuff. And as you can see, there's some of it hanging right there, which I just peel it right off and give it a wipe, and then I'll clean the threads before I put the drain plug back in. But it is looking good. It's promising. Doesn't seem to have any issues. So yeah, you know, jacked it up for no reason, but it's such an easy thing. Takes 30 seconds to do, so why not have it ready to go if you do need to pull the cover and run through the gears. Forgot that the front takes the 1-3 fine, and as it starts coming out the bottom fill hole, you're good to go. The rear, I did about 1.5 and it started coming out. So I tightened that up, and I'm going through the top hole there. The HP stands for high pinion, and I'll finish off the rest of it to get to my 2.3. It asks for 2.375, so I'm just gonna go 2.4, call it a day. There you go, just like that, it's done. If anyone's wondering why I do the Teflon tape or whatever, it's because a lot of these aftermarket covers, they tend to seep a little. I don't like that, so this solves it. It's simple, it's easy, it's harmless. So that's my take on it. Nice little spray down, and then just give it a second, let it eat away at any of that oil. Give it a quick wipe down. Yeah, it does eat away at the paint a little. So if I was to spray it on the Terraflex like I did there before it went down, that's the least of my concerns. And then all this that came out, I'll just peel off of it, and that's it. The main part is in the threads, where I care about it most. And just like that, guys, super simple. You know, you can do front and rear in an hour at home if you have everything lined up. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Super simple to do, front and rear. It's cheap. I think those quarts are like 10, 12 bucks a pop. I got 4 because I wanted to have a little extra, and you'll have a little bit left over. But it's super simple. Like I said, it could be done. I'd give yourself 30, 45 minutes per side, you know, front axle, rear axle, just so that way you don't miss anything. It's not a speed record, but super simple, easy to do. And there you go. Now we'll go out for a test drive and see you guys later.